Spinning. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Well, we're saying welcome back, Blake, because this is our second attempt at Happy Football Friday.
Yeah.
How's your week been, Blake?
Good. Good. Been good. It's finally fall weather today. It feels like football weather today outside.
It is crisp. I have the sweater type of
Yeah.
thing on today. You are
Yes.
too with
I got
sleeves.
long sleeves on today. Yeah.
Which brings us right into the action here in this episode of Happy Football Friday, because it's going to be a crisp night out on the football fields. And there's a lot of good matchups, which we're going to talk about. But first, a new addition to Happy Football Friday is something that will make you happy. At least it made me happy this week. I don't know if you saw this story or not, Blake. I think you did. I'll introduce it here and we can talk a bit about it. So the South Hardin Band, my understanding is that the band director there left at some point before the school year. And what is football without a band? Blake, were you in the band?
I was not. I was not in the band. I had a lot of
I
friends.
was the guy that played the big drum. So I don't know if that's in the band. I was willing to hold the big drum, but you can't not have the band there on a football Friday to give it the environment that it needs. And this in the story here, I'll flash up. You can find it on WHO. We'll also tweet this thing out here. Talks about the South Hardin Band and its unique pep band. What they did is they actually brought the community together. So parents and different people did that. Let me share an image with you that I think it shows something really good here. We're going to screen share. There's a good snapshot of that story. So we got the band out there, a mix of football players jumping in, a mix of kids, and there's also some adults behind there. So the different parents of kids in the band and other community members were part of it. So they opened up the whole thing to the community so that they had a band. If that don't make you happy, I don't know what was. If I could be in the band again and I could be in the band with my kids, I might do it. I don't know. I could carry a drum for another kid, maybe. That's about all I could do. But Blake, you've been to a lot of games. How important is the band to a football Friday?
You see a lot of parents show up that don't even know football, and they show up to their team's games, and maybe they stay for the first half and go home in the second. But it creates that great environment, and I agree. I'm seeing more and more football players come out in their pads and stuff and literally play in the band during halftime. So it's pretty cool. I enjoy listening to the band always when I'm up in the booth.
That's right. And just like anybody, we like good matchups. We like to see top performers, but there's nothing like seeing a kid come out after the first half and play with the band and get the community involved, because if anything, what a football Friday night does, it brings the community together in a way almost that nothing really does. And so here at Bound, we appreciate all the elements of a football Friday.
Absolutely.
But that's your happy part. That's your happy part. Now we're going to talk a little bit of football, Blake. I'm going to go ahead and pull up here what our picks were from this week. And again, I wish I was a little prouder when I pulled this screen up, but I'm you got to play. You don't always win.
Yes.
But I am a little behind the times in this particular contest. Let me make sure I got the right thing pulled up here, Blake.
And so we're in week 7 now of our football picks. As the screen pulls up, we'll get it there. Technical difficulties. I'll run through the records though. So Leah leads the way. Still, Leah is up by 1 game. She is a 30-12 record, 30 wins that she's gotten correct. She's only missed 12 games. I am currently in second, 29-13, right behind Leah. Paul, a couple games back, 24-18. And then Sam, you got back to 500 exactly with a 21-21 record. So that's about as average as you can be.
I'm a sucker for the underdog, Blake. That's my problem. I can get pulled in.
It's worked a couple times. I guess we'll just start with this week's. I always hate it when we all pick the same teams, because we've lost games this year where we've all picked the same teams. But Southeast Polk takes on Cedar Rapids Prairie tonight for our Class 5A game. Cedar Rapids Prairie lost this game by 1 point last year thanks to famous cornerback Xavier Nwakpa. He blocked the game-winning field goal possibly last year against Cedar Rapids Prairie. I took Southeast Polk simply because it's very even. I just think because it's in Southeast Polk, I think that gives them just a little bit slight of an advantage. I think Prairie is still going to be good. I think it's going to be a very close game. They have a very good quarterback, Sullivan. He's really solid. So I went with the Rams. Everybody else went with the Rams. Sam, maybe you can give your reasoning there. But
I really wanted to go with Prairie because I do think they're a slight underdog, but I think it's going to be a good game. But I I didn't. I chickened out. Gosh darn it! But I'm excited to see the end of this one. It'll be a fun one to follow all throughout the
Class
night.
4A, Indianola takes on Carlisle. Indianola gets our game of the week for the second straight week. This is such a good game. We all picked against Carlisle when they played Bondurant a couple weeks ago, and Carlisle proved us wrong. Almost all of us picked against Carlisle again. Paul said, nope, not this time. He's going to go with Carlisle. The rest of us went with Indianola. I went with the Indians. I went back and forth on this, but I went with Indianola simply because their passing attack is one of the best in the state. I think Bennett Bruick, I think is his name is, and then Drew Kingery, their wide receiver, one of the best in the state. He's unbelievable. Carlisle just doesn't pass the ball. They only have 3 passing touchdowns all year with 2 picks. I love their ground game, but I got insight from Tyler, our photographer, who has watched both these teams. He said Indianola is the better team. So I got some insight there, and I'll go with Indianola. Paul goes with Carlisle, and that's a good pick. I could easily see Carlisle upset this Indianola team, but Indianola also gets a home game.
This was a tough one. I mean, Carlisle in our kind of strength of schedule is 251, so that's kind of why I looked at that and said, but they lost a really close game to Lewis Central, and they won everything else. I mean, and they've got this will be an interesting one for them. They got Norwalk and Perry to finish. Let's see what this will tell us a lot about Carlisle tonight.
Well, and we know they'll at least get a week off. Perry just canceled their football season this week, so they will get a week off. So that's something that they can think about as they head toward the playoff. Class 3A, this is probably the biggest game Harlan has played regular season-wise since probably Grinnell 2 years ago in the opener. ADM is finally up to par with Harlan. Last year, this game wasn't even close, but ADM has really good players. Brevin Dahl is unbelievable. Their quarterback and running back duo is one of the best in the state. They are so good, so good. But they run into a buzzsaw of Harlan that has barely even played their starters in the second half all year long. Tegan Kasperbauer has only thrown for 1,200 yards simply because he's only played in first halves. He's only played like in one or two second halves, I think, all season long. We're all going with Harlan. I love ADM. I think it's a great story that they've done. This would be, and I think will be, their only loss this season. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a title rematch game, but Harlan is just so good. I love Tegan Kasperbauer. I love Aiden Hall. I think they're going to be just fine today, especially at home, and they don't have to go to ADM.
Yeah, hard to argue with the details there, but ADM folks, we're never cheering against anybody, right, Blake? This is just what we think. But to prove that, though, we all went against you. But look at what we got in the office here. We're rocking the ADM little right L helmet there, so there's still a lot of love here at Bound.
Yeah, absolutely. 2A, West Marshall and Roland Story. I picked this one because it was sneaky, and that's the thing. When I get to pick these games, I sometimes don't realize how hard some of these things are. From 2A to 8 player, they're all toss-ups, in my opinion. 2A, West Marshall takes on Roland Story. West Marshall scored 13 unanswered in the fourth quarter to beat PCM last week. So coming off a little bit of a rocky game. And then, Roland Story, 4-2. Their only losses are to Nevada. And then I can't think of the other one, but they've played close and played well against all their opponents. I went with West Marshall. I just think Peyton Hart, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the state of Iowa. I think West Marshall is the better team. But, man, I tell you what, Roland Story could win this game easily, and it's in Roland Story.
Yeah, this one is the one I paused on the most because I follow a lot of Roland Story things. I like their if anybody doesn't follow some of the things that their coach produces on social media, they do a really good job. It seems like a really good culture. But yeah, West Marshall seemed to have a little bit of an edge. But this is the one that took me the longest in my research this week to choose. But yep, I was with you on it. Yeah,
keep an eye on Jonathan Wilkinson with Roland Story. He's going to be the biggest option tonight. Can the running game get going? That's the biggest thing. Class 1A, another good one. MFL Marmac takes on Cascade. This one is tough. I am going to go with MFL Marmac simply because of their defense. In the last 5 games, they've only given up 0 points. They gave up 23 to Osage, I think, around that area. But because Osage had an ineligible player, that game got forfeited in MFL 1. They gave up 7 to Columbus Catholic. They gave up 6 to Sumner Fredericksburg, and they just beat Postville last week, 84-16. So I'm going to go with the MFL Marmac defense to get the job done. They won last year's game 44-26. I love Cascade. I think Cascade is really solid. They upset Beckman Catholic a couple weeks ago, but I just think the Bulldogs have a better chance here tonight.
And similar thoughts on my end here. I didn't look back at their previous matchup. That's a good thing, and that's one of my favorite things to do inside of Bound in the app is to go check those previous matchups up. But yeah,
well, and it's interesting. So we just talked about giving up points. So MFL Marmac, both teams have played Columbus Catholic. MFL Marmac beat Columbus Catholic 27-7. Cascade lost to Columbus Catholic 42-14. So I don't know. I just think the Bulldogs have a better chance tonight, but Cascade is very good. Class A, we got Linville Sully taking on Ogden. Ogden is 5-1. Linville Sully is 6-0. Both very, very talented teams. Ogden has almost more than 1,000 passing yards than Linville Sully does, but Linville Sully has about 600 more rushing yards. This is just a really good game. Again, if we're comparing opponents, Ogden's only loss was Madrid, 33-13. Well, Linville Sully just beat Madrid 36-14 2 weeks ago. Not saying that's the end-all be-all. Corden now Harder is really good running back for Linville Sully. I'm going to go with Linville Sully. I think the Hawks are really good, but you must like the Ogden passing game.
Yeah, I do. And this was maybe my one underdog pick of the week here. So I was leaning Linville Sully, but I needed to catch some ground, and so I'll be cheering for Ogden tonight.
Last one, 8-player Gladbrook Rhinebeck takes on Don Bosco Dons. I'm going with the Rebels. I think Gladbrook Rhinebeck, 20 passing touchdowns this season. Their running game still holds up with even Don Bosco's running game. Their defense is phenomenal. They have almost like 15, 16, 17 some sacks this year. I think the Rebels win this thing, and I think it's going to be close. Last year's game was really close. Don Bosco won like 44-36, something like that. Everybody else is going with the Dons, and I completely agree. They're an unbelievable team. I think both these teams are unbelievable. I think they could both make it to the Dome. I just think Gladbrook Rhinebeck gets the best of them tonight, and I'm alone on that.
You are alone.
Yes.
I'll just leave you alone on that because this one will be, for you and Leah, right? This is a big one.
Yeah, this is the big decider because between 1A and 8-player to decide who can maybe get back ahead, it's strong between Leah and I. So I'm the only one to have a perfect score this year. I'm hoping I stay that way.
Where are you going to be tonight, Blake? You going to a game or calling one?
I am at Des Moines Roosevelt tonight or Drake Stadium for Roosevelt and Marshalltown. You will be in Ames. Our photographer Tyler will be in Ames. So it's going to be a busy night across the state.
Tyler, he's coming to Ames. That's good. I'll be on the sidelines with him. Yeah, we'll see the 5-1 Downley Catholic 5-1 Ames. Not all 5-1 teams are made the same at this stage of the season. But you know what? You got to play the game. So we'll see what happens. It'll be fun to see. Great night for football for sure here. And wherever you're going, bundle up a little bit. But this is what it's supposed to be like. This is where it's at.
Yeah.
And Blake, as we end our second episode here of Happy Football Friday, I just have a question for you. One question for you.
So,
how many touchdowns? No, let me rephrase this. How many student athletes across the state of Iowa last week scored 4 touchdowns or more?
4 touchdowns or more.
4 or more.
Let me think. Well, I'm watching the Cleveland Guardians versus the Tampa Bay Rays. They're in the 9th inning, and I saw the number 9, so I'm going to go with 9.
Not the whole state of Iowa. 4 or more.
The whole state of Iowa. 4 or more touchdowns. I think 9. I mean, I don't think it's that. It's not. It's hard to score more than 4.
It is hard to score more than 4. Well, let me show you how many really did this. So this is a new tool that we have we have a lot of things in our tool chest here at Bound, and we don't necessarily show them all to the public. This is one that we are considering on bringing to light here. But this actually allows me to pull back from this is just last week. You seen that okay there, Blake?
Yes.
On this month. So this is last week. There were 63 students that scored 4 touchdowns or more across the state of Iowa. You can see there, Kason Boyer, Max Burt. I can also sort this by class, but it might not work perfectly. Let's look across the 5A here. This is stuff that y'all don't get to see on the back end there. Gabe Gunn with 4, Drew Larson with 4, a lot of Iowa City High touchdowns last week. Jameson Poe with 4, Connor Moberly here with Southeast Polk, Sama with 4. So it's really a cool tool. We can actually pull this information on lots of different stats, and we're in the social media team here, the content team. We're going to start sharing some of these things with all of you. So if there's a stat out there that you want to know how many kids across the state did this thing, it also works in volleyball, also works across other sports, let us know. We'll let you know. We'll share some of this out on Twitter and celebrate it, because that is our intention here, is to be celebrating you, the kids out there, the parents that support the kids, the coaches that coach the kids, the ADs that make sure everything works tonight to run this event, our administrators that help keep high school sports alive. And also shout out to the Iowa High School Boys Association and the Girls Union. They do a great job of helping facilitate all this. We can't forget that part, Blake. Sometimes we can just go to games and sometimes we have fun. Sometimes something doesn't go perfect and we're like, but man, these ADs, they're working hard. There's a lot of things to do. And our state associations are also organizing things in a way that we'll never know and appreciate, but make all of this happen so that we have these beautiful football Fridays that we're going to have tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So that's a wrap, Blake. Anything in closing, any inspirational words for the fans out there for this weekend?
Nothing. I got nothing.
That pause must mean you're also thinking about the Hawkeyes at Illinois, and you're just not sure what to do.
I had just watched Remember the Titans like 2 nights ago, and I was trying to think of something inspirational from Remember the Titans or something, and my mind just went blank. Whatever. If you need inspiration, watch Remember the Titans. That's all.
There you go. Good movie. That's a great movie. That's good.
Yes, yeah.
All right, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Happy Football Friday.